Welcome back. With us, Gene Munster at Piper Jaffray, who covers Apple and the internet industry. Gene, so in 2 weeks, supposedly, there's going to be this Apple event. The company hasn't said anything about it yet officially, but you know, everyone kind of knows it's going to happen. Are you convinced at this point that the tablet is going to be part of this event?
Yeah, well, we've been waiting for this since the summer of 2007, so this is a long time in the coming for us. And based on some conversations we've had with a Taiwanese component supplier, we believe that that will be the case. They're going to announce the tablet.
Cool. And what's your vision for at least this first tablet? I mean, I think eventually tablet is just going to be a feature on a lot of Apple products, from portables to some of the Macs even. But this first kind of series, how do you think they're going to get the public interested in a category of electronics that kind of doesn't do well now or doesn't even really exist?
Yeah, that's the big questions. What's the use case of this? And there's two perspectives on it. First is to look back actually what we learned from the iPod. Before the iPod or the iPhone, before the iPhone actually came out, a lot of people thought it was going to actually be an iPod with you'd go down on your click wheel and then hit phone and make a call from it. Turned out to be something very different. So the use case turned out to be something very different. So in some ways we kind of want to wait and see exactly what it is. But based on what we know from what Apple has told us in the past is that this is going to be a product that's going to most likely target the netbook market. So portability is going to be one of its virtues, a price point that's less than the existing Macs, and a media-rich experience, which likely will impact from publishers and a different type of environment that you'll interact with websites in a different way, a new way. So what's the use case and who's this really going after? The simple way to think about it is it's kind of the edgy, cutting-edge netbook user who's got a little bit of extra money initially, but over time they can move that price point down and maybe show some features that we don't know about right now.
So last week at CES, Steve Ballmer brought out this tablet from HP and a couple others, and everyone yawned. It was not very interesting. What is it, do you think, Apple's going to be able to do that HP and Microsoft and the other tablet makers so far have not been able to do, both in terms of design, ease of use, features, applications? What can Apple do different and better that would actually get people to spend money?
Well, I think people keep coming back to this, but the reality is what Apple can do is an ecosystem, and these other devices can't do it. And it really starts with iTunes, and I don't think Apple would have predicted 7 years ago that iTunes would be such a critical part of their business. But a device like this, a tablet device like this, is going to be a media experience. And so not only do you want music, but video and also books and newspapers. So imagine this device, and what's different than maybe what the HP device would be, allowed to go to iTunes to subscribe for some newsletters or typically what would be a magazine, a different experience from that end, but also just an ease of use and connectivity with iTunes, I think, is something that none of these devices can offer. Also, just from a touchscreen perspective, Apple's notorious for having fabulous touch technology. Obviously, this FingerWorks technology they acquired 5 years ago could play into this, and so I think you're going to see a different experience. And lastly is the apps, is that this device will likely run apps, probably not the same apps as your iPhone, but will likely run apps, and so I think the combination of all three of those are something that's going to be a very different experience for people with this tablet versus the HP.
Have you heard of any specific quirks, hardware or software-wise, that might be part of the device?
Well, all we've heard is that it's from a screen size, a 10-inch screen, but from our perspective, our specific component supplier is more on the processing speed side, and it looks like this is going to be a robust device. I mean, this is going to be essentially a laptop and a tablet. So that's the extent that we have on it.
I had a wacky dream where Steve Ballmer pulled out a stolen Apple tablet prototype and showed it to me, and it was aluminum back.
Wow.
So,
did you get to use it?
A little bit, not much, but it was a very weird dream. In terms of publishers are going nuts for the tablet. I don't know how much they know about what it actually is going to be and what features it's going to have, and whether they would be able to publish magazines and newspapers as apps through the App Store, or I've even heard stuff like they're thinking that Adobe Air will be part of this. I personally doubt that. But do you think that obviously books and magazines would be an ideal feature for something like this? Do you think that's something that Apple will try to control the sale of the way they do via iTunes, where they stock the virtual music albums and videos and sell them direct to consumer? Or do you think it's going to be more like the App Store model, where the publisher is the one that produces the kind of bundle and sells it to the consumer, and then Apple takes their cut?
I think it's going to be different for the publisher side versus like a book publisher versus like a magazine, for example. I think it'll be two different models. I think more of as the blog sphere wants to probably address an application for a tablet like this, they'll have kind of a self-submit into iTunes or to whatever the store they might have. And then also with the actual books, I think that's going to be more regulated. If you look at what iTunes does today, Audible books are provided through Amazon. Apple has a deal through Amazon where they do a revenue share. So you could see something where Amazon actually provides the books for this through. But we do know from some comments from people close to the company that it sounds like the book side is lower on their priority list. In other words, it's probably a feature that will be on the tablet, but as far as is it going to really work as well as the Kindle, probably not. But the publishing experience is going to be something that I think people are really going to take note.
So Apple may have more control over publishing on the tablet ecosystem than they do with the iPhone, where it's very much just a publisher makes the app goes to the consumer.
I think on the book side they'll have more control. I think if you think about more real-time magazines, more publishers, online publishers, that might be more of a self-submit type of a model.
And then lastly, in terms of the impact on Apple's business, the iPhone in 2.5 years has quickly become, if you remove the subscription accounting, you know, a massive, massive part of their revenue and profits. Is the tablet something that could achieve those kind of results, or is it going to be more like a model of a Mac or a couple models of the iPhone, where it's part of a larger story, but not really the story the way the iPhone has become?
We think of the tablet as part of the iPhone story. And this is all part of mobile computing. And over the next decade, mobile is going to be the fastest growth in hardware sales. And so this is one part of this mobile family. And so ultimately, we don't think that the tablet is going to be, at least from how we see it today and the price points we see today, it's going to be as mainstream as the iPhone. The addressable market certainly isn't as big as the phone market, but it's going to be an important piece to their overall mobile strategy.
Great. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.